Kim Poovey is an author of historical fiction and ghost stories. Her published works include Truer Words, The Haunting of Monroe Manse, The Haunting of Edgefield Manor, The Haunting of Boarding House, Shadows of the Moss, and Shadows of the War. Kim lives in a haunted 1890s Victorian cottage in the South Carolina Low Country with her husband, Darrell, and their furry children. Kim, over to you.
Hi. Thanks, everybody, for being here. I am going to talk to you about Sarah Holden, who can see dead people in her dreams. The problem is, they can see her too. I'm going to read a couple of excerpts from my novella, The Haunting of Intermont Hall. It's the fourth book in the Dreamist series and is available for pre-order now on Kindle. The opening scene I'm about to read is with Sarah Holden, an antique and estate dealer who can communicate with the dead through her dreams and help them resolve the manner of their death. She's with her best friend Danny on their way to the haunted campus of Virginia Intermont College in Bristol, Virginia. Sarah's bare feet padded across the decaying wood floors of a long corridor. Shadows shimmered in corners like shrouded bodies. Death and decay permeated the air as the structure rotted around her, spots of mold creeping along the walls and blackened fingerprints. It felt as if she were walking through a tomb. An icy breeze surfed across Sarah's skin, squeezing a shiver from her body. The words, "It's all a lie," scraped against her cheek. Stay calm, she thought, trying to take in a breath, her lungs unyielding like iron. Fingers of panic wrapped around her heart, choking the life from her. "You have to calm down," her mind screamed. "Sarah!" Danny hollered, jolting Sarah from her slumber. "Did you hear me?" Struggling to grasp consciousness, Sarah mumbled, "Sorry, I must have dozed off. What did you say?" "I said I can't believe we're stopping in Virginia on another ghost hunting expedition," Danny repeated as they whizzed down the highway. "You didn't have to come," Sarah replied, straightening in her seat. "I could have ridden with the guys." Danny gave a sideways glance. "You're my best friend, and I'm not going to abandon you, especially when ghosts are involved." "Too bad you couldn't have helped a few minutes ago," Sarah croaked. Danny's expression wilted. "Oh, no, you don't. I won't have ghosts in my car." "You just said you wouldn't abandon me to the supernatural," Sarah huffed. "Besides, my dreams are haunted, not your car." Out of nowhere, the radio blasted Gerald Way's "Baby, You're a Haunted House." Danny's eyes widened as she glanced over at Sarah. "What the heck is that?" she squealed. "I don't know," Sarah hollered back, hitting the knob and silencing the radio. "This is getting way too creepy," Danny muttered. Her face paled and her knuckles turned white as she gripped the steering wheel. Taking in a deep breath, Sarah rubbed her eyes with quivering hands. "It's all right. There's nothing here," she said, reaching over and squeezing Danny's shoulder. "How do you know?" Danny whispered, her jaw clenched. "I can feel it," Sarah replied with a slight smile. "And there's no use whispering. The ghosts can hear you no matter how quiet you speak." The next excerpt from the book is further down in the story. Sarah is alone in one of the abandoned dorm rooms at night, while the rest of the ghost hunting team members are elsewhere in the dilapidated old dormitories. Sarah's heartbeat ticked up a notch as a prickling sensation scurried across her skin to the tips of her fingers. Something wasn't right. Run, she thought, but her legs refused to respond. She wasn't sure whether the sudden paralysis was mental or physical. Regardless, she was stuck. A flash of light blinded her. Covering her eyes, Sarah leaned backwards and bumped against something spongy. She swallowed the fear lumped in her throat and opened her eyes. Everything was dark. The scene with the women had vanished and the scent of coffee lingered. The building moaned. Groping in the darkness, Sarah's hand latched onto something sticky, causing her to recoil in disgust. A shriek erupted from Sarah's lips when a rotting corpse appeared, its flesh hanging in pieces from ivory bits of bone. Finally, her feet responded to her command. As she ran for the door, the floor gave way. Sarah clawed at the splintering floorboards, struggling to grab onto something, anything to keep from plummeting to the room below. Suddenly, her fingertips found purchase in the groove of a floorboard. Clutching the small crevice, she wriggled her fingers into the opening and held tight. Her lungs burned as she gasped in bits of dust and mildew. A sneeze threatened to wrench her from the pitiful grasp, preventing her fall. Where were the guys, she thought? Surely they'd heard her scream. And where was Dallas? Her arms stung from the effort of holding on to the jagged edge of the floor as her legs flailed below her. The nearby radiator began clanking, the sound increasing in intensity with every passing second. A giggle from the far corner, along with the scraping of chairs across the floor, added to the cacophony of terror enveloping her. The noises grew louder, beating against her eardrums with the force of 100 bongos. Another flash of light blinded her temporarily. At the same time, something below began to pull at her legs. With all her might, she kicked at the unseen force, struggling to maintain her grip on the fractured floorboards. Panic infiltrated her muscles in a rush of adrenaline. Whatever was beneath her was strong. She feared the unknown energy tugging at her legs more than falling to the floor below. If she could face the entity ripping at her calves and ankles, perhaps she could negotiate with it. Shifting her eyes downward, she saw only darkness. If you want to know what happens next, you'll have to read the rest of the book. For more about my books and haunted escapades, please visit my website, kimpoovey.com, and sign up for my newsletter. Thank you.